I guess I'm live. Hello, everyone. You know what? I might try and get out of the four-finger swoosh habit because I think now OBS might be recording the transitions, the left-right transitions, when you use just the Windows keys. That's Control Window left and right to do this. And yeah, which I do a lot because I usually have about 7 of them lined up. 3 in use, active project on 4. 3 in use being some very standard things, full screen Vim here for journaling. And I have this set up so I can bring chat over since I'm live streaming. It's already autopiloting me. The first thing it thinks I should do for today, or at least it thinks I should type, is I'm going to try and get a little bit of work done today. Oh, well, thank you. Are you trying to say something? I guess that's statistically the most common first thing said in a journal-like environment like this. It's identifying it as such, which in itself is a little bit scary interesting. So, that is not what I want to say. And now I got to clear my mind, recombobulate. Today is about NeoVim. Hey, Diddle. Diddle. Now, Neo, you are the one. NeoVim's my fiddle. That's, I guess, my headline. How can it not be, right? So I'll just plop that there as my H1. And for people who ever follow my journaling format, it seems a little bit odd to have a H2 above an H1, right? If you're speaking in markdown terminology. But that's okay because, it's your journaling and you timestamp everything at minimum by the day. And you may or may not give a headline. So it makes sense that the first thing encountered is going to be the timestamp. And the expression that it's not the most important thing about the page. If we do have a headline, that is in fact more important, and use that as your URL and such. So that's the logic that's implied there. You'll see that come up more and more as I recreate my blogging system before you, where I turn this file, which is a single text file that I basically now keep for life, the work version of my journal, and it just scrolls down forever. If I hit Shift G, it drops me to the bottom, and we'll get a line count down there. That line count is 68,854 lines, down to where I say try something new, which I have now made the last line. And these are lessons from the Amiga, which I keep at the bottom of the file. I keep other things at the bottom of my file that, if I have plans for life or whatever, or to-do lists that are really important, or commands that I'm trying to get into my muscle memory, I'll plop them down here at the bottom because Shift-G brings me there. There's 2 fixed locations, Shift-G to the bottom and then GG to the very top, and that's where we left off. And if it loses its markdown color highlighting syntax, that's just something about Vim and NeoVim, and you can fix it by : syntax on. So it's like, oh, you must mean I lost my markdown color coding syntax. Well, here it is, and we have it again. So I oftentimes do a ZZ to position my cursor location in the center of the screen. Chops off the ear of the bunny a little bit, so I have the macro set up so that the whole bunny shows when I do the macro. But now when I actually get to typing, it's more comfortable to have it like that. And what is it that I want to type? Well, I guess I'll grab that chat window. Yeah, it's early on a Sunday. Who's gonna be here? But if people drop in, feel free to say hello. I grab this, pop out chat. I do this, and I drop a pop out chat over here, and I slam that over to the right. Oh, I got it. Nice. Slide that down a bit, but not too much. beware of that arrow there. And you can type to me, and I will continue my journaling. I think, do I have Karnak running? Yes, I do. Okay. So, this session is about macros, and I'll NeoVim macros and maintaining compatibility with Vim while still, you can see I do have to make my text a little bit smaller now because of the resizing of Windows. Compatible with Vim while still maintaining compatibility with Vim while still working in an acceptable fashion. So their behavior may change a little. Fusion. So they may change a little. But they'll change the same way, hopefully, between Vim and NeoVim. I think every time I spell NeoVim, I'll use a different arrangement, upper and lower case. I still have to do, I guess, a camel case where the first N is lowercase, but I'll ZG that. That belongs in my library. My words added to the spell checker. And this is mostly about editing. I'll see if I can get this right. It's relative to your home directory in the .config directory. And I know this because I had to say it out loud in my mind for earlier journaling sessions, right? You're linking memories, right? NVim, I took note of the fact that they are inconsistent with their naming, and that belongs in the dictionary as well. And the file inside there is init because it's an initialization process with a Vim extension. I took note of every one of those things. This is now in my default Vim buffers. And yes, I'll still be calling it Vim B space init. Who needs fuzzy find if you know exactly where you put a thing? And in here, I remind myself, what once was vimrc is now init-vim. It's time to fix my macros and update slice and dice. Yeah, good reminder there. Yank. B1. Poof. In fact, I copied the following reminder to myself from that file. And I'll quote that, R greater than. It takes a while to get used to the VI text editing environment, but once you do, it becomes very natural and easier, in fact, than using other types of software like, I guess, Word or VS Code and stuff like that, which takes just as much learning, just as much getting it into your muscle memory. It's just that that stuff changes all the time, so all your work is lost over and over. Where this, I switched from Vim to NeoVim to have Copilot here, which you'll be seeing in a moment more because I'll be doing a little bit of coding in this session, right? Because let's talk about that for a second. So what macros are we fixing? That is in B space init. And then that is in where I let at Q, because the one I'm updating is P. So I'm going to watch my P's and Q's. And this is much like what this is. Now it's actually all loaded into memory, even though I'm looking at the vimRC itself. This gets very meta. I can actually execute a macro that I'm looking at on the screen because it's in my registers. So I do the @ sign and I do Q. And what that does is it places the command that you'll see. So what you're seeing here, let Q equal this command. So everything in between the double quotes, really. So from there to there is what gets typed when I use the macro. But it doesn't hit enter. See how that blue cursor is down there? Some of these other commands, you'll see this $M. You see $M all over the place. That's because that's the enter key on the keyboard. That is simulating the keyboard input for hitting enter. So had I put that $M at the end of this line right there, it would have gone ahead and hit enter, and then had a sort of undesirable behavior that was making it very difficult to know what the heck was going on, because it runs a script, because there's your execute. It's actually executing a command, and the command it's executing is what's between the single quotes now, I believe. Well, if it's a string, it's between the single quotes, and you can use environment variable stuff, which is just amazing. So this is a Vim thing. It's not a NeoVim thing, and it works differently under NeoVim, which is the reason I'm even showing anything here. So by not hitting enter, you see the output. It is in slightly interactive mode. It takes some interaction, which is entering the command, and then it shows you the output of the program. That is the contents of that hello world program. Hello.py has a print statement that uses something that was sent to it on the command line arguments. And this is what was sent on the command line arguments, which is basically the directory I am in, where I was run from. So that's incredibly useful. I guess I'll remind you what that code actually looks like, because I do have it sitting. I do not have it sitting over there. You thought it was going to be this one? No, that's a different thing. I'll show you that later. I just opened another command line because it is worth seeing. And here it is. It just imports argparse, which is how you parse arguments from the command line. It creates an instance of the argparser object as an argument parser. And then it creates a add_arg function. This is what I do. This is a me-ism, just to make this simpler to look at. I create this add_arg function as this longer path. So it's like doing it on the import. I guess I could maybe try to do it on the import, but I might need the parent object elsewhere. Yeah, this other object. Yeah, this is probably one of the cleaner ways to state this whole thing. So once you create that add_arg thing, you can add an arg for folder, and then you can print what came in under. So you create an args object, which is an instance of calling the argparser method of this thing here that I already abbreviated. So there's a whole lot of path shortening going on, and I hate these really long paths you have to look at when you're using argparse. It's what makes argparse code usually so ugly to look at. So one day I sat down and I said, hey, how can I use argparse without like having to use all these fancy third-party argument parsing things that are made so that this is just slightly less ugly to look at? And this was my solution. So it's not bad. So you can print hello, whatever came in on arg's folder. And what came in on arg's folder is what you just saw here. It's still the output. It's frozen until I hit enter, but I'll do that again. At Q, here's the command. And here's the hello world program, and here's the -F. And that -F corresponds to this -F here, which is also -- folder, which is the variable name that gets used in this lovely dot notation. It's actually quite nice. This is a good API. You know, if you know how to keep your long paths under control, I now have args.folder that I can just refer to in an F string like that. It's really nice, and we're going to play off that. We're going to actually actively code here. Now, this is the kind of thing where oftentimes you would use Jupyter. I would use Jupyter in order to have a better coding environment for experimentation and everything. However, in this case, because it's a .py file that's going to be called directly by a macro inside of NeoVim, I am going to work in NeoVim. And what comes back is this full path here, like that, right? So what we're mostly interested in, I believe, if I'm going to be reconstructing the blog system that I use, yeah, that's not easily parsed to know. This last directory is easy to grab. You can just grab the last directory, everything after the last trailing slash, really easy to get. However, yeah, so this is a real exception. I would never really be editing something in this type of location. I'd be editing it from the blog. Yeah, okay, the directory it's in. So I need to test this macro and watch this output change. I guess that's a piece of it I kind of forgot. And I can go to B space, B1 for my buffer 1. Now if I do the macro here at Q, see, look at the different path. That's exactly right. So long as everything is relative to the same path, you can just use the last folder name. So if you were doing a blogging system, all your blogs that you use this system with would have to be in the same directory structure under, say, a hide directory from repo. You know, that's where you would put your blogs. It's acceptable. I'm going to live with that. It's an 80-20 rule solution. So watch how I get this value and just turn it into that last directory, because you can print the output. So under hello world, I'm going to print something else. We just go over here, and then I know I'm sitting on top of a path that is a path equals args.folder, and then a path dot split on, and it knows what I want. Does it know the index that I want? And it does. It knows the index that I'm going to be asking for. Holy smokes. And now you can print, and I'll use an F string. Does it know what I want to print? Close, close. My folder is a path. You know, there's Copilot for you, right? This is the kind of stuff that it's made for. How can it read minds so well? At Q. Oh yeah, I'm still showing the whole thing. I meant to show it a little differently, so I'll leave that showing for before and after. I'm printing out wrong. My folder is not a path. It's my lock. Just my lock. It's just my lock. there it is. My folder is, and the last little portion chopped off. So this is so small and seemingly so simple, yet it's so big in capability expanding, because now you can run things relative from the directory you are in. So that, you might have noticed this other script I've been sort of skipping over, all this time. This is the one that slices the file into tiny bits based on a delimiter. And it's a very memory efficient way of doing it, so that it could work against, gigabyte big text files and slicing it. So I'm really liking this, and that is something that may in fact be incorporated in at this point. So I'm thinking what my next step is. It knows I'm in this directory, and if my directory naming convention stays consistent, then my file naming, not directory naming, if my journal naming convention stays consistent, I can put the command to do this slicing directly into my hello program. So here's a nice trick. This is dice.py, and I'm just going to quit out of that so that I can load that over here, because it's in the same directory as I'm in. So I can do BADD, I'm bad to the dice, and now I have them each in a Vim buffer. So if I just do B next, BN for B next, you cycle through them in a circle, just going forward, alternates back and forth. So this is my location, and gee, I don't know if you even necessarily needed your location unless you're using fixed paths. Yeah, I guess you would want to have, you can certainly express it so that it can be run from anywhere you're CD'd into. I guess that might be what I'm getting at by even taking my location as a parameter at all, because this could all run relative to where it was launched from. Anyway, the next step is taking this code, and I'll even keep that as a reminder. Always something there to remind me. And I was doing this before from the Skype directory. So there was a directory that ends up full of files from relative where you are, called files. So I don't want to use these relative paths anymore if I've bothered to get these fixed paths. But there is a fixed path part that I kind of need to set up ahead of time, which is root. And it has some idea what I'm getting at. It's definitely not the one I want to use, but and this is part of the system I'm going to be releasing to everybody, so I should probably get away from like hardwired paths. But I'll do it for now. I'm just going to say, because somewhere you're going to be able to get username. I think I'm making this too complicated. I can make this always work correctly using ~/. They don't have to be completely absolute paths. So here it's ~repos hide. And that's the file name. Now this is what's coming from the parameter. This is actually going to get replaced now. And we can use f strings there. It's going to get replaced by my lock. So this can be used against any directory inside of hide. And that is a good place to be. Now file, this is going to work. Now it's going to need a location called files, which is good, so it won't write over all my existing blog system, right? There's another directory thing here that uses _posts for Jekyll, and I am going to, instead of putting the code here to detect whether the directory exists and making directory, I'll get to that, but that's too much of a distraction. 80-20 friggin' rule says to just drop into that location. And make dir files. Alright, so now there's a place for that to end up. And this whole friggin' command is actually going to happen here. And I would prefer this. Well, no, I'll keep that there. I'll just print a done. Yeah, it knows what I want. All right, if we see the word done, there should be a location in here. CD files, ls, that's a before. It's an empty location. So now we go over to the journal. At Q, I don't have to load anything back into memory because this is executing that command, going through the Linux API to do it. There's nothing cached in memory here. This is loading an external file, giving the full file location as an input parameter on the -f argument, on the -f parameter. This argument on this parameter, parameters and arguments, it's tough to keep them straight sometimes. But we run it, and we get a error. No such file or directory. Repos hide. Mike Living journal.md. Oh, tilde slash. Oh, I think that's right. Unless tilde slash doesn't get expanded. Yep, see that location is correct. So that might just mean, oh, and there's a journal.md in there. Yep, journal.md is in there. So if it's giving me this error, no such file or directory, that is what I just directly checked, which means that this tilde/ is not being expanded, such as it were. And so that means one of the tricks I'm using here, I cannot use /home/ Ubuntu . Yeah, at least it is consistent on the line it's going wrong on. Oh, Skype, I think, yeah, no, that's the folder, not the file. That's correct. Oh, no such files. Oh, interesting. That's because of opening it down here for a write, and it couldn't. Ah, relative paths. Yes, relative paths. I need to give it absolute paths there as well. Is there anyone here? People are coming and going. One person saying, oh, is he still doing that? Yes. Yes, I am. Making myself dizzy. Where was I? I was at the point where I was like, oh, this needs that same long path sort of thing. So, that goes from here to here. And we can paste that. And then we can put the trailing quote. And then we can escape and smoosh on X until the color coding is correct. And don't let those dependencies into yourself. Do as I say, not as I do. So I try and avoid the dependencies, right? So it's going to be a trick, you know. I avoided, say, first-person shooters in the age of Doom so that I didn't go down that whole, you know, PC game modding, you know, route. I could have very easily become that person. Similarly, I've avoided IntelliSense and everything like that autocomplete in, you know, text editors because, you know, I believe in the dir command. It might make me a little bit slower, but I'll know it better. I'd like the visual, you know, the consistency over platforms over the ages about how you discover things and how you learn things. It's just not as convenient as having them twinkle up in front of you as if by magic. So if you rely on that as if by magic, you're then dependent on a sort of magic. Okay, so anyway, that has given the full path, and I should be able to... Oh, someone is hot. Life worth it. Hi. Hello. I know we're out of sync a little, so we'll have a funny, like, out of timing discussion there. But I'll watch for you to type as I continue my thought here. And that thought is... What was my thought? It was just something terribly interesting from the other screen. Oh yeah, this should run. Oh, survey says... Okay, let's see what's wrong this time. Home Ubuntu repos hide. Mike Levin. Oh, is a directory error. Opening. Yeah, I can't just open that location. I have to open a particular file. So I left out the name of the journal there. Oh, what am I working on? Oh, it looks complicated. Well, yeah, this is me setting up some macros in my text editor to turn journal entries such as this one into web pages. Like, I ran out of screens. I scream for screens. The screen I scream for will have Chrome. I scream for Chrome. In Chrome, we will visit my website. In my website, we will visit my secret blog. I'll show you a secret way of getting to my secret blog. The first way is to just click my logo. But I created this other way, which I think is kind of interesting and fun. So you put a slash, and then you just put anything. And that'll bring you to this file not found. This 404 you will adore. It helps to ease the fog. Scroll down low to depths below to find my secret blog. And to see some more from me, just click here for a poem. A page that's for those still not sure is ~/poem. So here's my secret blog. And when you see me typing, like over here, these things are actually going to become blog posts over there, which I can jump to with a click, part of why I keep the taskbar showing. And so, for example, I started working through this the other day. I guess that was yesterday at this point. And this is me working through some issues. And yes, it is complicated. I am switching my text editor. It's not easy. And in switching my text editor, it may not look like it for people who follow me, but I am on a new text editor. It's almost almost exactly the same. My last text editor. But not quite. This video is me working out some subtleties in the macro, working out some subtleties is the bad word there, working out some problems in the macros I use to do this text to website blogification. Yeah, I guess that is complicated, huh? Well, I'm doing some complicated stuff and thought I'd share you in. Oh, about Bing, yeah. Okay, watch me live, sure. So, you know, this is me just making sure I know my stuff, right? Everyone will talk the talk these days, right? On the YouTubes, there's lots of slick talkers and good video editors. They have great equipment and can show a crisper self over a higher res screen. Not me. This is the one screen I work on. Virtual desktops are the rest. So that's why I'm switching left and right all the time, right? It's like I have a long ribbon of screens in front of me and I don't have to turn my head. Like, use technology for what it's for. And so here is the thing that's now being run on my macro. When I hit the macro, if I do yeah, well, I would probably want to do it over in this window so you can see it up here. When I hit @, if that were to be followed by P, it would be my blog release system, but I'm going to follow it by Q. Oh, but I'm in insert mode, so you could see it there. When you're not in insert mode and you do that, it sets up, it almost executes this command. It's just waiting for me to hit enter. I hit enter, and now it's giving me this error. Is a directory error? Yes, because I'm trying to slice and dice something that is a directory. You can't slice and dice a directory. So I go over here and fix my mistake by putting the journal name right there. In that location, you are going to find journal.md, because that's I guess it's going to be a hardwired sort of standardized thing, and you can see it in two locations, and these two things are already f strings, so there's really no harm in parameterizing that as well. I guess you would do that right here. Journal equals journal MD, and now you can just use an F string here instead of a hardwired thing, and you can then change it in one location instead of having to search and replace. So when there's only 2 places to replace it, is some question as to whether it's even worth the effort of doing this little bit of formatting I'm doing here, or whether it wouldn't have just been easier to change the hardwired references in the future. Well, the idea is this is going to expand and grow, so it may end up being lots of references. And you can always do a search and replace too. So again, it becomes a matter of preference, but it's nice to see, oh, there is sort of a global variable named journal, and you can set it to whatever you want, and it gets replaced here, as do the other things such as my location. And now this should work. I save it. I go over here. I drink some vitamin water. And I do my macro. Now, it's something different. See, it goes all the way to done. I'll have to look into that. It has changed. Oh, has it changed? That's interesting. Make sure I read it well. Has changed, and the buffer was changed in Vim as well. I can look at this help W12 for more info. So the file I'm looking at, that is this file, has changed as a result of me running that program. But I'm going to just immediately resave it from there. Now you can see I'm in this location. Now I'm hoping that from this location, I didn't overwrite this file. If I did, I just overwrote it again back to what it should be. But there should be a directory called files, full of files in this location. That was the before and after I was kind of setting up here, or where, somewhere. People come and go. CD files, ls. No, cd ... Oh no, do an ls here. Okay, good. It's not as bad as I was worried. CD files, ls. This should get full of files from this. Oh, where it's writing to, right? Yes. Oh, journal.md. It's a file I'm trying to oh, be careful, be careful. It takes the file name there, and then it opens it, and as it reads through, it spits back the chunks. Oh, yeah, I want to write into the files location. Let me look at the original example. Oh, yeah, of course, it's the file that it's writing out as, so I need to provide the file write pattern. Duh. That makes a lot more sense now. Yeah, of course. All right, so now let's try that. How many years it took for me to... Sorry it takes me so long to notice these things. How many years did it take me to understand these difficult things? Oh, okay. So, yeah, let me go see the before and after. So I would point out that knowing these difficult things is... and there's the file, so it's a success, right? So I just laid the groundwork. So what you need to understand... before I answer that, because it's absolutely going to be an answer like about 10 years. It took me about 10 years to know these difficult things. But I'm going to share a secret, but the secret is when you really examine it, it's no more difficult than so many other things in life. The thing is, on those other things in life, like driving, and literacy itself, you know, and literacy with the spoken language, the interface doesn't change on you. The interfaces don't change on you all the time like they do in tech. Tech is special because it drives away those who are not particularly quick on the uptake. The opposite of multilingual fast learners. It's okay to learn slow if the APIs don't change on you. So what you're seeing here is a person of moderate skills locking in on tools over, 10 plus years that basically don't change. In a good way, right? When they get most things right early, when they get most things right in an early product that worms its way into the specifications for that product, then that has the potential of having a very, very long life to it. And since you're typing, I am going to do what I haven't done lately, which is make the font bigger. Let's see how that works. Yeah, 10 years. I really like the job, don't you? So this isn't a particular job. This is me just being me. I couldn't imagine not being able to, just have a text editor in life. For me, it's like driving. I don't drive for a living, but it certainly plays a role. Same thing, Vim, right? Linux, Python, Vim, and Git. They don't change much. Just bit by bit. For decades, long, their interfaces are the same. I'm not a genius. This poem's lame. Oh, Copilot. Man, I'll take it. Sign me up. Let's see if it knows what I'm doing now. And what's more, Q, A, Shift A, space, space, escape key 0, J, escape, Q, at A, at. You don't even see what's happening, but I'm putting 2 spaces at the end of every line. You think in Vim, you think in your text editor. Yeah, so many things took long to learn. It's worth it. Sorry. Oh no, it's please do. I'm super glad. You know, the interaction is you know, I'm okay, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. I vlog while I drive because cam board, dash cams, it's no different than talking. So I figure same thing here with work, with quote work. You know, it's Sunday morning at, you know, for me, 8 a.m. or whatever, coming on 9 a.m. Work, yeah, work vlogging. I have Copilot, yeah, Copilot in NeoVim, and that's going to be of interest to some people out there thinking of doing similar stuff. The fact that what's intended for coding can be there for daily journaling. I mean, where else are you going to get that? Right now, because I'm predicting future trends, of course, except from me, right? You know, this is, I tell people I'm bleeding edge, but it all comes out as talk unless you really get to see it in play. So this now fixing my NeoVim macros, because I had to switch from Vim to NeoVim to have Copilot in this journaling environment, and that's of interest to the folks. So why not? Yeah, it's your hobby. Yeah, it is my hobby. So here's a concept. Okay, so there's just a lot of stuff going on here. You know, it has to do with a lot of things. You know, let me just sort of lay it out. It's not the particulars. It's the satisfaction of craft, as in arts and crafts. And craft how woke am I? Craftsmanship? Craftsmanship is what I'm saying. You can still say that because it makes more sense. People will understand it better. You know, so it's really not about the particulars. So the next thing that you have to understand here is that this is actually quite difficult in tech because it's anti-craftsmanship. because things change so fast. Now, professor, and it was a class. You don't know why? Yeah. So that's because of my style. That's fine. You know, this is me just waking up in the morning and thinking through my day. And I'm trying to form new habits and explore some new territory. And it's good. I mean, you came here through a big success, having this screen full of text sitting here. That's really like a big win. I'm replacing what is some hairy, messy text right now with something that's clean and easy to understand. So right now, the code that I'm updating is only this long. I'll just put spaces where I need to. I'll stay PEP 8 compliant, and then I'll shrink that down. So everything that is currently running when I use that little macro key in that other location is just this much code. This is all it's doing. You don't need to understand it or anything, you know, except for the fact I hit a button over there, it runs this, and by running this, I end up with all these files over here. Now, they're not formatted yet quite the way I like. It's not ready for, so I can't, I'm dropping them in this location called /files. If I drop them in this other location, which is one directory up, cd ... go up one directory and go over to _posts. If I did an ls in there, these are the actual files that my current system is outputting. And if I were to show you those, this is now loading 500 files into my text editor. You know, try that with VS Code, right? Now, it's taking longer than it should at this point because of, I believe, Copilot, but there's all this formatting done here with they call it like the top matter. And so instead of just slicing that other file into lots of little files, I need to do a little bit of transformation work, a little bit of crafting of the files so that the blogging system makes them look like good web pages, right? And that's also that it looks like good web pages over here. These things here, they need to be formatted just so in order to do this magic that they do. All right. Is doing a lot of amazing things, and while the banding in for, oh yeah, okay. Sorry, but which part of America are you? Your accent is familiar. Yeah, so I am living in New York City, but the accent is Philadelphian, or Philadelphia. My accent is Philadelphia, but I'm in New York City. I guess I dropped the, I'm not just in New York, I'm in New York City. One of the outer boroughs. B-O-R-O, boroughs. Yep. There it is. I'm not a New Yorker, I'm a Philadelphian. I'm a Philly guy, says Copilot. Okay, I take it. I take it. Anywho. I actually reached a good point. I had the success in this video that I wanted. Now I'll just do some cleanup work to stage things for the next step. All right, so things get these strong concepts or, identities in how you name the files. And currently, hello.py is not a very strong identity for what is going to be my new slice and dice system. So I named the project Skite. I did a bunch of Googling to make sure it had good meaning and didn't overlap with anything else similar to it. So there's just a few files in there. And I used skite.py, slice.py, and this in experimentation, dice.py. Now probably I will just go with the dicing concept because slicing and dicing, and so it's just a name space that's kind of available to me. So I'm just going to replace hello. I'm going to check what really is tracked there, because not all these are probably in the repo. What's not tracked is dice or hello.py. So I'm just going to go to where I might have loaded any of them into memory, because I kind of like doing this stuff from scratch. I guess I have to write before I quit. And from this location, now I know I just don't have them loaded in memory in any of these different text terminal locations, so I can do this pretty safely, which is to remove dice, because dice is just not in the picture anymore. In fact, I'll show it to you. You can less dice. You can use the less program to show it real quick if you don't want your full Vim text editor loading it every time. It's not doing anything different than what's now being done in hello. So I'll remove dice.py, and then I will move hello.py to dice.py, and then I'll add dice.py to the repo, because now this has some decent value, and I love the concept of dicing as if I can't use Skite and I can't use slice, dice is the next one up. That's why I was using it for that other file. So I'll stay consistent with that, and that means where I edit my macros, I need to change the reference to that. That is B, the buffer, :B for the buffer I want to jump to, init, and then rely on command line completion. I admit in some places I do allow product-based dependencies to predispose me or to lock me in a little bit. So this is dice.py, and now my macro will run correctly. Now I have another keyboard shortcut, function F4, which basically just reloads my, init.vim, my .vimrc equivalent, back into memory, so that my macro at @q now is connected to the right thing. Oh, it's morning in your country too. Where are you from? This live will be saved. Yeah, this will be saved on YouTube. So I'll show you that how these end up. I need to organize my YouTube. It's like I don't keep it very tidy. People who are interested in everything I have to offer have no real easy way to navigate my work, but insofar as you can, It's youtube.com/my name. You can just, if you can remember, Mike, Levin. My name is my YouTube. You just go there. It's as if I'm a top level product on YouTube. And here's my channel. I've been experimenting with different banners and stuff. But, you know, I guess the best thing to do is to look across these. There's one called Live. And here are all my live videos going back in time. Some were live. And my good material is truly split between these things that were live streams over the years and stuff that was not live streamed. Just stuff that's just as good as in videos as well. I wish there was a tab that was just mixing together live and videos. These two tabs together would give you a good selection of my stuff. And I just do this, you know, whenever. Okay, so I guess I can test this. I can go back to B1, you know, any of these journal files. I should be looking at one of the journal files that I mean to slice. Maybe I could even pass the file name of the file you're looking at to the Python command, so I don't even need to hardwire the journal.md part of it. And that's something I can note to myself here. I can vim dice and in the place where I actually said it, I can make a comment to myself. Command line interface args. And this in the future, I might be able to get rid of the hardwiring to journal.md. And there's other interesting things to notice in here, like the parsing character. These 80 horizontal line, these 80 hyphens, you may or may not recognize as these things in my journal when they scroll by. These things here, that's 80 hyphens. So if I go down in this entry, there's another one, and that's what this is slicing on. And I have these things kind of going between journal entries, just back in time. And that's what, so I'm always editing all my journal entries all at the same time. And I'm going to be able to do some interesting things. Like, I actually want to do a description here. It might work. And it might not. But it certainly will work if I write a program to do this during the transform. I can hit the one of the OpenAI APIs, load in as a prompt the text that's displaying on the page, and then have it automatically write a description. Certainly on the output files, certainly on the files that end up in this directory. But maybe on the original input file, maybe on the file that I'm looking at, and then after this thing has run, it says, hey, the file has been updated on the drive. Would you like to reload? You'd answer yes, and then description lines would pop up underneath every one of my journal entries. And that kind of stuff I think would go over real big on the internet. And I think I need to do that kind of stuff like quick as a bunny. I've got this sort of advanced stuff, as you pointed out. You know, the stuff I'm doing, I guess, looks more on the advanced side. Doesn't feel that way to me until I inspect it more closely. And I'm like, yeah, this really has built up a lot of stuff over the years. And the whole trick of building up stuff over the years is not allowing the technology to change on you quite as quickly as technology tries to do. And that means focusing on certain things that have a kind of old school look to it. And when you do that, everything looks advanced or high-tech or movie-like. And I do these little extra touches, like I love my highlights in green, so it feels like the Green Lantern superhero. There's something about hunting and free will with green. Something very tied to a portion of the human experience, which is the opposite of blue, by the way. Soft and blue and round, like water and earth. There's my water. I'm from Philadelphia. In Philadelphia, we have water. And linear and straight, and like an arrow carved from a branch, which has green leaves. Trees which are linear. So there's blue circles and green arrows. And, I try and portray the two of those sort of mixed. Oh, you're from Brazil. Yeah, very cool. I figured you must be from my hemisphere. And if English is not your first language, I should have done some guesses. When you draw that straight line down from New York and you say, where does someone live? And you're like, what's the biggest country? Your first guess should always be Brazil, I've learned. So how are things over there in Brazil? What brings you to my channel? And what is my next step? Because it's not mission accomplished. I mean, it's mission accomplished for this video. Let me do one of those macros at Q just to test it. Right? You can see the word dice is put in there now instead of hello. It seems a little bit more sensible for a system such as it is. And no write since last change. I'm a little bit concerned. Dice is feeding the path location, and there it is. That was it finishing. Yeah, this is the output from it. Yeah, so it's not going to stream that well. I should not rely on the twinkling output like my old system used to. It used to be fun to watch it scroll past, but the buffering context here is much more restrictive. It pops through after it buffers up a certain amount of unknown bits, maybe 1K or so. And I have adapted. I have adopted NeoVim, and now I must adapt my behavior by making small modifications. And in doing so, I'm refamiliarizing myself with how macros work, the compatibility differences between my old software Vim and this new software NeoVim, which to all appearances is identical. Someone who doesn't know the Vim world would not realize I'm on different software at all. But just the way things work here a little bit has changed. So I've just now grabbed the reins and got them under my control. And I know what I'm doing. So I know what I'm doing. Let me reassert the fact that I know what I'm doing. RM star instead of Vim star, remove star. This is Linux. This is Unix. This is a syntax and a language and an operating environment that, believe it or not, has been around in more or less similar form, the interface, since 1970. 1970. This is an empty directory. I go over to where I'm editing my file. I do @Q enter. There's my new rhythm. Bunch of stuff is happening in the background. And it says done, and I go back to where I was. And where it just was a moment ago, ls nothing showing. Now it's ls. Oh, that's a post. Oh, I deleted everything in my real post directory. Whoops, a daisy. Well, let me put that back. Enter to get out of that one. Ampersand P. Now you'll recall on a prior video, you probably won't recall because different people here every time. Some people would maybe watch my things sequentially, but it's the rare person who does. This is my old script executing now down below, which is doing what it does. There's that caching I told you about. It gets up to a certain amount of bits and then writes it all out, and at least I have it waiting on screen once it reaches the end of the script, so you know it's done. You have some sense of it running correctly and reaching the end. Things in Brazil, well, they're, well, kind of like, you know, no tsunami, which is nice. No natural disasters, yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about Brazil except, of course, you know, is it San Juan, the image of the big statue looking out over the city? Not San Juan. Oh, Sao Paulo. I got to get my geography right. And the fact that it's huge, South America, and you have one of the largest rainforests and natural resources in the world. Highest biodiversity. I think that's one of the little tidbits I know about Brazil. And mixing pot. There's a lot of people there from all over the world. In addition to, you know, those you would traditionally think. Alright, so there's that reaching an end. Oh, it hasn't really reached the end, but it's gone there, done, and then I hit enter. And, yeah, so the zeitgeist of the world is just crazy now. With all the stuff going on. Here in the United States, it's a shooting every other day. But you're coming here to get away from that, right? What I'm given here is grounding. I'm teaching a type of grounding because the reason this is so grounding. So this is grounding stuff because for the very reason that it's old school. It's all still in use. It allows you to get better over time. There's almost no end to the depth of this small set of tools. You know where to focus. Many times it's in your text editor. This will help you feel the connection between language and thoughts. Language itself is a tool for thinking, encoding thoughts. The subpoint there is clarification. Exploration. Deliberation. And ultimately, free will. Deliberation and choice. Decisions. Decision making, yada yada. How is yada not in my dictionary? you can get in the zone and do your thing, effectively filtering out the world. Rio, that makes sense. They're popular, right? Sao Paulo, yeah. It also shows you, we are Americans and classically ignorant. We know the entire world from coast to coast, and it's worse for a New Yorker. We know the entire world, all 5 boroughs of it. Well, really, we know about any 2 or 3 boroughs of it. Everyone has a bubble. So tell me a little about where you're from. The fact it's funny. So are you like, I have no idea who I'm reaching. The fact that I'm waking up in the morning and flipping on live streaming and starting to journal, and someone from from Brazil, is tuning in, is just amazing to me. And life worth it. You definitely, what's your emoji there? Your emoji is an angel. Yeah. I'm going to guess we are from fairly different backgrounds, but I am big into small world, so, feel free to ask what you want or whatever. A soup of people, yeah. The internet is awesome, so the internet is awesome. It's a network designed to allow resiliency. Rerouting communication, in case of disasters. It got, demilitarized and kept the cable and telecom companies from making the information, I'll make a capital, it was supposed to be the information superhighway. In other words, a cash register for them. We got the free and open internet for a while, but for anything that takes big bandwidth, we still have to pay information superhighway tolls, TOLLS, tolls for the tools. It's English stuff, but tools have tolls. Tolls for tools. That's the micro soft way. I pay for Microsoft. I shouldn't put it first. This should definitely go second to GitHub. I guess it's Pro. But I also now pay for GitHub Copilot. This is new. So, they're all, I can use the multi-line. This is a shame, but they're all approximately $100 per year. And that is just a fact of life right now. Like, not to. And even with all my Linux, Python, Vim, and Git, LPVG, advocacy, I still can't not pay the Microsoft tax. So I do what I can teaching the old school ways of tech that can make you Microsoft independent, but why punish yourself? Yield and lean into the strength of tools, power tools, like VS Code included, but don't become sheeple. Sheeple? That belongs in my dictionary. And that's about it, you know. You use the stuff you want, you know, use what you want, but know what you're doing, you know. Use what you want, but know what you're doing. And what you're doing is sometimes allowing a vendor to own you. Your live is okay. I guess there's some problems. Life for the YouTube live, I mean. Oh. What, problem streaming? My connection may not be that great. Oh, yeah. Sorry if the streaming isn't great. What's next? What's next? I'm gonna keep my other blogging system going, so thinking through next steps. Thumbs up. Here, I'm going to try something. I think it's Windows key period for the emoji interface. Do I have that right? Yeah, I have it right. Oh, but then it went away as I did that. So Windows key period. And now I have to switch my cursor. Oh, press Windows period. Yeah, right. I did that part. Now I need to know where to type. Keep typing to find an emoji. Oh, I just had to be patient. Thumbs up. Boy, the lengths we go to just send a emoji. Thumbs up. Okay, so thinking through next steps. And the next steps are format the output. Don't just slice, dice Haha. I entertain myself. Yeah, everyone has a bubble. It's common. Let's see. Format the output. Don't just dice it, right? So now I can bring it into my main files. Bring the new dice.py into the main, into all program. And I'll show you that now. So I'm going to be editing that all the time. I'm going to try and avoid letting dice split into two files like it did in the past between skite and slice. So dice hopefully will be just standalone, but I quit out of it there. I'm not in it anywhere else. And I can use one of these windows now to, I guess I'll cd to the location first. User local sbin clear ls. In sbin I keep just two files really. So sudo for super user do vim, which is now aliased to NeoVim, all. This controls what happens when I type all, and it loads all the files that I'd like to edit. And there's a series of miscellaneous files. It's wherever I mention skite, because skite itself is living outside the normal system. So there's skite and slice. And I'll just put dice in there. And there you can see other things I'm running in the background as well. My new version of the .vimrc and two of the important web pages out there, which I really need to start updating. And that means now when I type all, if I quit out of my journal here, I guess I want to save, write and quit, and then quit once more. And no. There we go. So, had an English professor, so you learned alone when you were little. Understood. Understood. You don't have to apologize. You know, we English speakers, and we only English speakers, because I'm not really multilingual. As much as you see me doing with the coding on the screen, I am an English speaker, and that means I think mostly in one way, and that is a problem. That's a weakness in terms of, like, you know, survivability. When you're part of a homogeneous population, that means threats to the population that exploit things about you propagate across the entire population quickly. And that happens a lot with thoughts and memes, particularly so in English. And that's the Tower of Babel story. You protect civilization from that by making everyone speak different languages. And that's resiliency of heterogeneousness. And so now I just run all again, right? That's the all program. Now it loads it back in. This is my sort of my daily routine. I'm not doing this step that often. The idea is you load these files once at the beginning of the day or at the beginning of the week, and then you just have these handful of files that you edit sitting there all the time. And because they have strong names in your head, it's easy to jump around to them. It doesn't matter what order they're in your buffer. You sort of do this direct access to them, :B space init, and then the tab for command line completion. That trick wouldn't work well without command line completion, but you'll see :B space dice. Now there's the dicing file. It's part of my daily routine now. I will be going into this regularly, and I'll be able to evolve it forward quite quickly because it's in line with all my other files. I should be able to show them with what? B space ls. Yeah, there's all my files. B space ls. And anything you hit, whoops, ls, anything you hit sort of dismisses it. But these are all the files I have loaded into memory right now. I'm up to 17 of them, so it really doesn't make sense to remember what order they're in or cycle through them one at a time. The whole B next thing starts to go away when you have a lot of them in memory at the same time. So I would just jump to whatever I want to edit by starting to type its name after the :B. B1. Sometimes you use their indexes. You know, this is always in the first position. Hey diddle diddle, NeoVim's my fiddle. My new /repos skite/dice.py file is in my all program. And the file itself is so tiny. One of the advantages, dice. One of the advantages of having them all in memory at once is you can easily copy and paste things now between yank B1. I can just put it in here as some Python. And I'll use the old system now to release it. And that'll now just release all these latest updates out on the web. And I need to go do a bio break and stuff. So this is where I go over here and see there's a couple people on, but you know, I'll join you again later.